Hello everybody, hope you're all doing super well. It's your boy Frogman, and people have been asking about Lucio builds in Stadium, what's the best build currently, all that sort of stuff, right? So I figured I'd make this little video about the build I personally think is the best, maybe. This could all be subject to change in a few weeks' time, like mid-season patch, hot fixes, all that sort of thing, you know. But I think this is kind of like the bread and butter build for Lucio to consistently make money, do a consistent amount of damage, and obviously keep your team alive and build beat very, very quickly, right? Because obviously, if you don't know this, you get money from all sorts of things in Stadium. So eliminations, assists, damage, and the last one is healing. That's right, guys. This is the one time in my entire life that I will tell the Lucio Mafia, you guys gotta heal. You gotta heal so you can scale, right? If you're not healing, you're not making money, you're falling behind. The Cassie's gonna look at you and go, boom, boom, you're dead instantly, just like that, right? So you gotta remember, in the early game, you gotta focus on doing all four of those things. Eliminations, assists, healing, and damage. That's the most important stuff, right? That's your bread and butter right there. So how do we kind of get started on getting a good amount of healing, right? Simple. You have these free powers here. You have Let's Bounce. Soundwave has 30% increased knockback, which is good on maps with like maybe Redwood Dam, Throne of Anubis, any sort of map with like an area where you could knock someone off the map. This is good on those maps in the early game, but in most cases, healing is your friend because you want to be making money, right? So crowd pleaser, you take that, right? If you don't know what crowd pleaser does, it gives a big little, like it gives a little burst healing around you on a 4-second cooldown every time you boop, right? So in a situation like this, let's say you're taking a little bit of damage from like a cast or something like that while you're trying to fight him in a 1v1, doing a little bit of damage to him, he gets you low, you boop him away, you get a little bit of health back from that. And that's just kind of like a whole bunch of bonus money, right? You get the healing bonus money, you get the elimination bonus money, and obviously damaging bonus money. So it's all a bit of like a, you know, small amount of money getting made. But every dollar counts in this situation. So that's really important. And as you come into your third round, you want to swap, like go between, do I want reverb for like the extra boop, right? Or do I want Let's Bounce, right? Because it's like reverb, you get 2 of these now, which means more healing for your team, right? And obviously more sustain for yourself because you're selfish. Or, you know, if it's like Dam or any other map that has potential boop spots, you could go for this. But in most cases, I feel like reverb is kind of the one you take. And once again, you don't have to start off with crowd pleaser. You can start with Let's Bounce and then go into reverb and then crowd pleaser in round 5, right? But once again, you want to try and be like farming up consistent money, and crowd pleaser is kind of just that like one for it, right? Obviously the camera is hiding mixtape, by the way. I don't like this power. This is not the one I really like, right? But as for items, right? Obviously, when you get to round 5, you want to take Let's Bounce. That's the whole power stuff, all done and dusted. You know, going into round 7, it's entirely up to you what you want to take. You can take Radio Edit, Beat Drop, Vivace, Megaphone. You can take whatever you want in this situation. Sonic Boom is also really, really good too. But in most cases, we're not really going to round 7. So it's not really, like, these builds are more so just kind of centered around getting to round 5, 6, right? But as for the early game, the stuff I always like to take on Lucio is Heartbeat Sensor 100% of the time. You always want to take Heartbeat Sensor. You want to take some ability power. And then you can take Charge Plating. After you spend your ultimate charge, gain 25 armor and 10% ability power for the rest of the round. This just gives your beat a little bit more, you know, health to your teammates when you use it. And obviously the armor is just really useful. And then the extra ability power putting you at 20% just gives you more damage, more healing output, which means more money. So that's really good. You might not be able to build a beat super quickly. You know, this item is obviously situational. You don't have to take charge plating. You can go for some lifesteal. You can go for some weapon power or something in survival. But if it's a map like Push, where you know you can build beat quickly if you're playing around your team, this is really, really good, right? And as you go out through the entire game, keep Heartbeat Sensor. Do not sell this item until very, very late in the game. And the reason why is Heartbeat Sensor works in the sense of it always guarantees you assists, which means more money. If, I don't know what it is, it might be bugged at the moment, or it just might be how it works, but this item just gives you a whole ton of money. This is an infinite money glitch right here, or infinite money farm, whatever you want to call it. But I've been running this a whole bunch. Everyone has been running this now, and I was like, why is everyone running this? And people on Twitch chat were like, you got to run it, man. It's the money generator. It's probably going to get nerfed in a couple of days, but, you know, you might as well run it while it still is. But in other cases, if this does get nerfed and it was bugged or something like that, you know, 10% ability power, lifesteal, charge plating are all your friends, right? And as you go into the next round, you're thinking like, what do I want to get now? In most cases, I just go for flat out ability power, right? Charge custom stock is also really good if you just want a small amount of weapon damage, just so you can fight people a little bit more easily and do a bit more damage to farm up thing. But I always kind of just feel like Nano Cola is really, really good just because when you boop someone, you're dealing a whole bunch of damage, right? Nice. But yeah, custom soccer is obviously one of those other alternatives as well. Those ones work really well too. You know, 10% ability power and lifesteal is also pretty good, but I wouldn't really take this until you have 2 boots, right? But if you want, you have the choice between cooldown reduction, the weapon damage and ability power, and nano cola. In most cases, you might be able to get like, you know, something like custom stock and nano cola, depending on how much money you've made from the previous round. You sell both of your green items, and then, you know, you're all good, right? And you still have some money left over. You take charge plating just for that, you know, armor and ability power, right? Or you could just get some armor. It's fully up to you, right? Now going into round 3 is when you get your second boot. And that's also when you're getting around about your first, like, 10k. And there's a whole bunch of choices here that you could really pick out of these. But personally, I think Super Flexor is one of my personal favorites, right? When you do weapon damage or healing, gain 5% ability power for 3 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. And what this does, it just gives you, whenever you're dealing damage, you're getting up to, like, consistently dealing damage to shields, enemies, all that sort of stuff. You're getting 25% extra ability power if you're keeping the stack consistently. It's a bit hard to keep it up non-stop. But let's say you're running up to a soldier or like a cast or anything like that. You fire 3 or 4 shots into him. That's 15% ability power. Then you go to the boop, and that's a whole bunch of damage done to him. Then just consider, like, you know, what it was before. Plus you get 25 health and the weapon power. That's a good amount of damage going into like a 1v1 with someone if that sort of situation is happening, right? So yeah, there's that, right? So Super Flexor, good one. And as for other stuff in the ability category, I kind of don't really focus anything else at the moment until I go into round 4 or 5. And in most cases, if I have the money, I'll take 40% ability power. But if I'm behind on money, I'll either take dealing ability damage applies healing reduction because it gives cooldown reduction, and you know, the healing reduction is really good against those strong heal comms like mercies, judos, any of those like strong characters. But also as well, liquid nitrogen is also really good because slowing enemies gives the whole effect of, if you're trying to boop someone off the map, but they straight back onto land because they have a decent amount of mobility, the slow will make them struggle getting back onto safety very, very easily. So you boop someone once and then like, oh no, they're making it back to land, like they're strafing back on, but they're slowed midair, so it makes it harder for them to get back on. So liquid nitrogen is a good choice. If you want to take that, that's totally up to you, right? Other items I also really like is the 50 armor, like the Merico fusion drive. Sorry if I mispronounced that. When you use an ability, restore 50 armor or shields over 2 seconds. This one's also really good, simply just because it gives you a whole bunch of ability power. And if you're running the 2 boops, it's very easy to stay tanky against someone, right? This is really good against Junker Queen and Ana personally, because if Ana goes to anti-nade you, you can restore that health over time. If Queen goes to ult you, you can go boop once and then boop again, and kind of sustain in like an anti, because obviously you're regenerating health or like armor while like antied, right? That's really good against that. As for other stuff here, I haven't really used most of this other stuff here. Ability damage and healing does grant 20% more ultimate charge. This one's also really good against strong ultimate farming comms, against like Jungle Queen, for example, who's getting a lot of ults off. If you just want to farm beat super quickly, this one's really good for that too. And with the Crowd Pleaser and extra sound wave, you'll farm it very, very fast, right? And as well as when you use an ability that heals, reduces cooldown by 5% for each unique ally heals. Also a good one as well. But in most cases, I will just take the good old Merico fusion drive. I just feel like it keeps me pretty tanky in fights against most people. It's good against cats, good against soldier, good against a lot of characters, right? As long as you're not getting like one tap very quickly, right? And now we're kind of in like the round 5-ish area where we're finally getting maybe Let's Bounce or, you know, Crowd Pleaser, depending on how you're running this build and what order you're in. This is kind of like around the time where I'll just sell charge plating or whatever I've had, just like one of my last green items. I still might keep the heartbeat sensor just for the money farm, right? And I'll just go for 40% ability power. This is when you're full on online. This is when you can just play in the sense of, if you get something like Throne of Anubis, just walk up and try to boot people on walls as fast as possible. Just walk up to someone and just go boom, boom, because that's a whole lot of damage. And just keep booping no matter what, right? Just keep on booping, because that burst heal you can do onto your teammates is absolutely disgusting. It's like, oh yeah, you know, let's just get my little bots here low, right? Hold on a second. Give it a bit. I could swap these around to the rocket bots, but that's too much effort. I don't walk way over there. These guys get super low, roundabout to like 80 health. No, like 20 health or something like that. Boom. Boom. And then an amp heal. That's a whole lot of healing done to him, right? And if you're keeping that up consistently in fights, you're going to build beat very quickly as well. So, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, right? And as well, since you have Super Flexor, you're sitting at like 85%. You know, you're going to be doing the extra damage with that. And that's going to put you over 100% ability power. So, in most cases, let's use one of these special big tank fellas, for example, right? Get the stacks all the way up to 5, right? Walk up to a Zarya, boom, boom. And that's a whole lot of damage done right there, just for like not even headshots alone. So it's quite yummy in my tummy, right? And as we go on to, I guess, like, you know, round 7, obviously I'm going to sell off Heartbeat Sensor at some point, right? You know, if you do want to take survivability items, it's up to you what you want to take. Phantasmic Flux is pretty good just for all around, like you get the over health, right? The reduction field, getting just damage reduction is really good, especially when you have the online build and kind of like just, you know, booping and healing non-stop. This is really good. The armor is just good against Cassidy. Other things I really like is just taking any form of cooldown reduction, right? Obviously, if you don't like some of these items here, you feel like you're struggling a little bit, but want to be outputting a little bit more healing, you can kind of look into doing a bit more cooldown reduction to help your team out, right? 10% cooldown reduction is really good. You know, if you're on round 7, Viv Ace is really nice simply because you get boop up very consistently if you're in the air or you're wall riding, so you can kind of just constantly just be going like, yeah, boop, boop, and then it's like on a 3-second cooldown, right? But if you get like 1 or 2 cooldown items, it goes on to like a 2-second cooldown. And that just means insane. I'll have a video going out in a couple of days showing the 50% cooldown, like Lucio boot build. I think it was 50% or 60%, something around there. And it was just absolutely abysmal is what it was, man. But yeah, last thing. So obviously I'll just show you the end game build of like what I really want, right? Once again, so this is kind of like what it was. More than likely, you probably won't be hitting round 7, right? But yeah, hopefully all the stuff that I kind of said was a bit useful. This is kind of the build I really like. You guys might have your own personal preferences of what you want to run, but this is what I've been having a good amount of success with in terms of farming up money, farming up kills, farming up just being consistent across the board. Because at the end of the day, you guys got to heal. You have to heal if you want to make that money. If you're getting kills, hey, that's great. But remember, you got to be making that money by healing. So guys, heal your team. Now I'm like ruining a generation of Lucios. Like, what's the opposite of ruining? Saving a generation of Lucios. Yay. Anyways, this update, this like little build might get updated in a couple of days or, you know, like a week or something like that until I find something better. But that's one of my favorite ones. So, yeah. Bye-bye.